What's up, and welcome to an episode of 10-Minute Mobility. Today's episode is going to look at the knee joint. What I want to show you is a few fundamental and basic moves that you should be doing regularly if you want to develop truly strong and healthy knees. Let's take a closer look. First thing I want you to understand before we actually start doing these moves is that your knee rotates. The knee doesn't just hinge back and forth like this, but rather, if this were your shin bone, the knee does rotate a little bit in and out. And what the goal of today's episode is to teach you how to identify and control that rotation, and then use that rotation to develop a stronger and healthier knee joint. So let's figure out how exactly it is that the knee rotates. What's going on here is that your shin bone or your tibia can turn relative to your knee joint. So to demonstrate this a little more clearly, what I'm going to do is take a pen, I'm going to draw an X right here at the top of my shin bone. And what I want you guys to look at is how this X moves relative to the X that I'll draw on my kneecap. So you can do this at home. All you need to do is sit down. You can be on the ground like me, or sit in a chair or on your couch. What I'd like you to try is pull your toes up toward your shin in order to more or less lock your ankle in place. And then hold your hands gently on either side of your knee. Now watch closely. As I turn my foot out, my shin actually goes along with, and you can see how this X is moving very slightly out into an externally rotated position. If I go the other way and rotate my shin inwards, you'll see the X travels in relative to this kneecap X. So right from here is our first, most basic exercise to practice for a healthy knee. What we want to do is rotate the shin back and forth. So your first step is to say, hey, can I actually create movement here? And then once you're able to figure out that turn in and out, next you want to start treating it like a strength exercise. So as we turn to one side, you're going to find your limit or your end range. Now, once we achieve the end range position, we want to do more than just get there. We want to ask our body for more. So what you can do is apply a stronger effort against this end range. This would kind of be similar to pushing against a brick wall. You could just lean against the wall, or you could try really hard and push against it, but there is a spectrum, and we can exist somewhere on that spectrum. So if you're following along, let's do 5 reps together. And what we're going to do is on the first rep, as we turn out, we're going to find our end range and apply a 30% effort against it, continuing to attempt to rotate the tibia externally for 3 seconds. 2, 1, and then we'll turn the shin inwards, find our end range over here, and again, apply 30% effort for 3, 2, 1. Let's keep it going, back and forth. As we go out for the second rep, let's increase the effort to 40%. Hold for 3, 2, 1, rotate inwards. Just like we did on the outside, increase your effort to 40%. 3, 2, 1, and let's continue 3 more times. So on this third repetition, I'm going to build my effort to 50%, trying to turn outwards. Rotating inwards, also building to 50%. Now these are approximate percentages. If your knee is bothering you, you may not want to push that hard, especially if you're noticing pain or discomfort. If you're feeling strong, work up to higher and higher efforts. The idea here is that you're expressing control of the force you create inside your body. Let's do 1 more each way. Out and in. Now, if you're working on your knee along with me, go ahead and pause the video and switch sides and try 5 more reps on the opposite leg. The next move in our series is really simple. We're just going to make sure that your patella or your kneecap can float correctly. So to do this, set your leg out straight in front of you, and what you want to make sure then is that your thigh is relaxed. So try to give your leg a jiggle and make sure none of this is tense. Once you're in this position, then you can use your hand to manipulate your kneecap. And if you look closely, you'll see that I can actually slide and shift my kneecap around what's called the patellar pouch. What I suggest here is to think of pushing your patella around the clock. So you can push from 6 o'clock to 12, from 7 to 1, and so on and so forth around and around. If you notice any spots that feel crunchy, sticky, or restricted, you want to work on those zones a little more than the other zones. I recommend 1 to 2 minutes of this at a time. So give it a shot, push it all around, both sides, and then we'll move on to our last exercise in this series. For our final exercise in today's video, we're going to combine the rotational movement of the knee joint with the linear movement, or the hinging movement of the knee. This is called a knee CAR. CAR is an acronym that stands for a controlled articular rotation. To do this, you can sit on the floor, on a chair, on the couch. All that matters is that we have our thigh supported so that our foot is not touching the ground. So an easy way to do this is to take that yoga block and slip it under your thigh. You could use a pillow instead. If for some reason you don't have pillows around, then you could just hook the back of your leg with an arm like so. I'm going to use a yoga block for today's video. So now that my lower leg is free to hang, we're going to combine the rotation of the shin with the straightening and bending of the knee. So to begin, we're just going to let the leg hang, pull the toes up again, and this is just to restrict the additional movement of the foot and the ankle. In theory, you don't have to do this, but I think it's a good setup. Next, choose one rotation. So let's rotate out. So we're going to twist the shin and the foot to its end range of external rotation. Now at this point, whatever effort you decide to apply against the end range, maintain that. So let's say here I'm at about 30% effort to turn outwards. Keeping that effort, I'm going to straighten my leg slowly. Now, you might encounter a stretch at the back of your thigh, and that's okay. If you're pretty flexible and you can get your leg straight, what I want you to do is stop before your knee is straight. When the knee is totally straight, the rotation we have is actually unavailable. It kind of locks together. So when we're doing this exercise, you want to stop just shy of a straight knee. At this position, we'll change rotation. So now we're going to turn the shin inwards, continue applying that 30% effort internally, and then slowly pull the knee back into its bent position. All the while, I am still trying to turn my shin in, trying to move this X closer in this direction. And then at the bottom, we switch again. So let's wrap this out. We're going to rotate out, continue trying to rotate out, and then straighten the knee. Rotate in and bend the knee. Rotate out and straighten. Rotate in and bend. Now we have to do both directions. So for the second direction, we'll maintain internal rotation of the shin and go back and straighten our knee. At the top, we rotate out. Now there's less rotation available to your shin the straighter your knee is. So when you switch rotation in either direction here with a mostly straight knee, I strongly encourage you to continue trying to turn out and see if you can access more rotation as your knee bends more. We got 2 left on this set, turning inwards and straightening, turning outwards and bending. And one really important note here is that I wasn't moving my thigh. So it's really common for people when they're first learning this exercise to have this excessive motion here, and as you turn out, your knee kind of follows, and as you turn in, your knee will follow too. And what that means is that your hip is trying to contribute to the movement of your shin. And so this practice is one whose goal is to separate the movement of our knee joint from the joints above and below. That's why we didn't want to move our foot, and that's why we don't want to let our thigh wobble or turn as we're doing this exercise. All right, so that's a wrap. Hopefully your knees are feeling pretty good. If you found this video to be helpful, please hit that like button, and I'll catch you on the next episode of 10 Minute Mobility.